What the fuck did you just say to me, Kyle? What in the goddamn fuck did you just say?
I've never wanted to have sex with a pot pie, but like, I'd have sex with that pot pie.
We're all weak to stepping on nails.
Let me preface this by saying I wrote a script.
Daytona Beach is like two mild inconveniences from being a post-apocalyptic wasteland anyway.
So many of my tabs say semen.
Are you guys ready for this weird horny adventure that we're all about to go on?
You can't handcuff me for skanking.
This motherfucker gaslights you.
Diet Coke and Sorrow will be chapter 4.
And against all odds, Kyle, we became those swirly weirdos.
This whole podcast is a very negative mouthfeel.
Hello and welcome to Debate This, the show where no one is right, but someone is definitely wrong. In this show, we take time out of our busy adult lives to talk about comic books, video games, and how I am absolutely going to make Andrew regret telling me that I can't overshare TikToks with him.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
Inject TikTok straight into my veins.
I had to carve out 20 minutes just to catch up on all the TikToks that you numbskulls were sending me all day.
Can we publicly pressure Matt to join TikTok now?
I won't.
I'm trying.
I won't do it.
I sent that Power Rangers one to all three of you in an attempt to get Matt on the hook.
Here's the thing. Much like I know that I would love The Mandalorian, we all know that Matt would love TikTok if he gave it a chance. But we know that he's not. Just like I'm never not going to give The Mandalorian a chance, even though that's totally not fair.
Much like Matt, you are also missing out.
What
are we talking about today, Kyle?
There's too much content everywhere, and we're all going to miss out on some of it. So Matt has drawn his line in the sand on TikTok. So last year, we gave our listeners the option through our Patreon, patreon.com/debatethiscast, to pay us $50 in exchange for one host doing a deep dive episode on the topic of that listener's choice. This has led to some classic Debate This episodes on topics like Pirate Anime World, popular online battle yelling game, and benevolent trickster food deity.
Question real quick, Kyle, is popular online battle yelling game, is that League of Legends?
That's League of Legends.
That? Oh, I was going to say that could also be Overwatch.
It could be a lot of things, yeah.
It could also be Overwatch. So we also did popular online battle yelling game 2 then as well. But
and World of Warcraft, that wasn't a flavor text.
Today we continue through our backlog of topics people care at least $50 about, and thank citizen of Butt Thwomp Nation Nathan LV on Discord by dipping our toe into one of the most popular franchises in the history of modern media, one of the most beloved properties by people who hate this property, and a topic we all agreed we wouldn't cover when we started this podcast a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. That is right, friends. We are doing a Star War.
Doing a dang Star War.
Doing a Star War. Nathan asked us to do a flavor text on Mandalore, the planet, not the Mandalorian, the show, or any other conjugation of the word Mandalorian. We are doing
He, she, it, Mandalores. I, Mandalore. You, Mandalore.
Mandalorgy, the study of Mandalore.
I don't like the word Mandalorgy.
And
That's
guys,
not good.
Yeah, you're right.
we'll get to it. But the word Mandalore has like 3 different definitions depending on what you're referring to. So,
Hey, real talk, I'm super excited for this.
Somebody has to be.
I am too. I'm unironically excited for this.
I'm like a 4 out of 10 Star Wars fan. Not like I'm a fan of 4 out of 10 of the movies, but like I'm a 4 on a scale of 10. But I am pumped for this.
I was thinking while prepping for this, I don't know if any of us are like a 10 out of 10 fan. I don't know Andrew's level of fanship. I'd probably put myself at like a 7 or 8 on that scale. So I volunteered to do this because I am very much a fan of Star Wars.
Just because I'm curious, Todd has put himself at a 4. Kyle, you said you're like a 7 out of 8 or a 7 or 8. I would say I'm like maybe a 5 to a 5.5.
Yeah.
Andrew, where would you put
Same.
yourself?
Same. There was a time where I was really into Star Wars, and that time was specifically 2005.
Okay.
Like,
what a weird time to be really into Star Wars.
Well, so the third movie, the third of the prequels came out, Revenge of the Sith. So that was a big movie, and that was like I was in Joe's junior year of high school, so that was a big time. But I got real into Knights of the Old Republic, which is why which is why I'm very excited for this one, because this the old Republic lore that Disney had kind of been like, nah, we're good, but kind of retconned back in with Clone Wars, I understand, which I've not seen Clone Wars. I've heard it's very good, but I've not seen that. So I know a little bit of this, but I don't know what I know, what I know is canon anymore.
My understanding of it, because I'm also not up to date on what fully is and isn't canon, is that most of the stuff that like was declared non-canon is still canon, except in the parts where there's like continuity clashes.
Yeah, except there overlaps.
And then they're hammering those out as they come up. But that's kind of what it is.
I think everyone growing up had that friend who read all the Star Wars books. Like for Matt, like we all know whose friend that was for Matt.
Yeah.
I also had that friend growing up, and they were the person who was like yelling at the top of the mountains, like the Emperor was actually not that bad because he's trying to save them all from like this galactic alien race that's gonna come and invade and totally does. And obviously, like that doesn't exist anymore. We got
Right.
Kylo Ren instead of the whatever that was.
Well, and it's technically not off the table because that plan is still like X number of
we're gonna
years
get
coming into
Star Wars
fruition.
shoved down our brains until the end of time.
So I have here we aren't doing a whole Star War because if we did, we wouldn't be able to do any other fun nerdery because all of our time would be spent unraveling a universe concocted by an obsessive compulsive nerd who thought of a backstory for everything down to the prop made out of an ice cream maker that they had on set.
What?
Can you unpack that for me?
Yes.
please, Scott?
Same.
So George Lucas, in making his
So George Lucas.
Has never made a mistake.
has
Continue.
never made a mistake ever.
Never
period, end of
misstepped.
story. In his like merchandising deal, realized there was an unlimited number of money to make through merchandising, so long as he gave fans a reason to care about every little aspect of the universe. So to do that, he gave everything you ever see a full backstory in the like 20 years following the release of the first 3 Star Wars movies. And that includes at one point in what's the second one? Return of the
Empire Strikes
Empire
Back.
Strikes Back.
Yeah.
I promise I know what I'm
This is
talking about.
why we don't have a Star Wars podcast.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
why we don't have a Star Wars podcast. There is a point when they are like evacuating Cloud City that someone runs across the screen holding a prop that is clearly just like a repurposed ice cream maker from the 70s. So there is you can buy the toy version of that prop, and it is literally called like Ice Screamo 994 or something. Like it's got a weird name referencing that it is just an ice cream maker that they painted to look like a Star Wars prop. And that's the unpacking of that is like,
Oh my God, you're telling the truth.
Wow. Wow. I Googled it. You can get his name is Wilro Hood, and he is carrying an ice cream maker. And you can buy an action figure of this man. Wow.
I was not lying. The only thing that was made up in that entire sentence was Ice Screamo 994.
My God.
Wow.
So today we are only going to focus on one small aspect of the greater Star Wars universe that was born from the backstory of everyone's favorite badass, ultimately useless, or is he, character, the stern and silent Boba Fett. But not actually Boba Fett. We are going to talk about the clan-based cultural group he belongs to, the Mandalorians. And no, not the Disney show. We're going to leave that to the handsome geniuses over at the Plooses Loose. We are talking about the planet and group at large, the Mandalorians. Their history,
like-
culture, and everything.
Mandalorians are kind of like the Branch Davidians, right? Was that only for Matt?
Might only
got
been
me.
from Matt.
I'll take it.
Oh boy. Thanks for that. Okay, so like let me ask the dumb at the beginning here. So
Wait, let me introduce you guys and then you can ask the dumb.
Sure. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Andrew, I looked it up. I get the joke.
I'll put the dumb on
we haven't
hold.
recorded in a while.
I can't do it alone. So that is why I conscripted the help of my 3 favorite guns for hire. Todd Satine Cries Thomas, Matt Din Jarin Cole, and Andrew Tare Vizala Henderson to help me guide you, the listeners, through a deep dive of the history of the Mandalorian people.
Okay, so I ordered all of our middle names at a Mediterranean restaurant last night. Anyway, so am I to understand, again, like 5 of 10 Star Wars fan, I've seen the 9 movies and Solo and that other one about the Death Star plans, and that's it.
Rogue One.
Thank you.
Rogue One.
So are the Mandalorians are, in a sense, like the Jedi? Like they are a faction of people in space who exist?
There is a race. So they're I'd call them...
do you mean races? Do you mean people?
Well, no, because
Hold
like Jedis can be of any race, right?
Yeah.
They're more like the Sith. So in that
Okay.
there is a race, the Sith, and then the Sith is a larger like religious organization following the Force. There is a Mandalorian race, the people from the planet Mandalore. However, they also accept anyone willing to follow the Mandalorian code as Mandalorians, making them, yes, a like clan-based cultural group more than a race of people.
It's a capital M Mandalorian versus the lowercase m Mandalorian.
Sure.
I feel like they would all have capital M's.
They all
I
have
think
capital
I think
Ms.
so.
Yeah.
So before we start, listeners, please understand that I am in no way a Star Wars scholar, and I'm aware that between the old canon, the actual canon, and then conflicting things in between those canons, I almost certainly got something wrong in the next 7 pages of notes. So as you're listening, if you hear me say something that you know to be wrong, I would like you to DM me on Twitter at tsquare87 and tell me at length how wrong I am.
Good.
And if I don't respond, just remind me every few hours until I do respond. Again, that is at tsquare87.
Every DM that I get, I'm going to respond with, "This is the way." That's every single one. That's a Mandalorian.
That is a
TV show
Mandalorian
joke.
thing. We're gonna get to it, Todd. It's a whole thing in the Mandalorian culture.
Yes.
Who's ready? Who's got questions? I guess we should go. Who's aware of the Mandalorians and how aware are you?
I feel like having watched the show, I have a fairly decent idea of what's going on. Even though I think I'm the lowest on the Star Wars knowledge, I may be the highest on the Mandalorian. Like
Todd,
the
you'll be
race.
happy to know that the Mandalorian show does come up in the last 2 sentences of everything we're going to talk about.
Oh my god! You just wait for me there.
So I mentioned I play a lot of Knights of the Old Republic, so it wasn't a main storyline, but what was referenced a lot was this period of time called the Mandalorian Wars, which there was a character named Karth that you could chase into the desert, and when he became evil, and you could just convince he's such a boner, you could convince him to just like run away and abandon ship, and he would just go ah, and that his whole thing was he was like a decorated pilot in the Mandalorian Wars, which was like kind of like the Clone Wars for the Old Republic saga.
Well, there's a few Mandalorian wars. I think we get into the ones referenced there.
The good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. The good one.
The good wars.
As stated earlier, I am not a Star Wars deep lore fan. My Star Wars fandom is the Skywalker saga and Episode 1 Pod Racer and a little bit of Battlefront 2. And that's it. But also, as stated earlier, my best friend was the extended universe guy. So I've heard these words. I just don't know what they mean.
Well, good.
I'm so thrilled that you gave actual depth to Karth as a character, because I played that game so long ago. Like, even when you meet Karth, you're like, you're a vanilla ice cream cone. That's all you are. Like, I don't need you.
So, fun fact, that same voice actor BioWare brought back for Caden in the Mass Effect trilogy
To play the same exact character
the
in a
same
different
character.
franchise.
And they totally knew it, and they did that on purpose, and it was great.
All right. Well, good. You guys all have like a baseline understanding of Star Wars, at least, so you're not gonna you're prepared for how deep the rabbit hole is about to go.
Yeah, they're like
somewhat.
little people, and they're inside of other people, and they determine how much force power they have and stuff, right?
You're thinking of midichlorians, which are the powerhouse of the cell, Matt.
Good.
So we're gonna start with just like a general like backstory of Mandalorian people, their culture. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll get into some of the like main events from Mandalorian history. So Mandalore is a desert planet in the outer rim territories of the galaxy Star Wars takes place in. So like if the galaxy is a circle, Mandalore is on the outside of that circle, as opposed to like the inner rim, the core, and the deep core, which focus more inward towards the circle.
Yeah, it's like Delaware. It's not inside of 270, but you can get there if you take the right road.
Exactly.
Who is that for? Do you have any other reference points like Tatooine is on the outer rim or something?
I wish I,
don't know.
did. I really don't know.
Fair
Like
enough.
I don't know the map of
Who cares?
the Star
Got
Wars
it.
galaxy enough.
I'm sure it exists. Somebody has it in their bedroom.
It exists. I saw it in my research. I don't care enough to reference
Totally
it.
fair.
I'm so sorry, listeners. If
Don't-
you really are worried about it, look it up. The important thing to take away is like the outer rim is less opulent, less ingrained in like the Republic / Empire conflict than the planets as you move inward. It's more Wild West, less refined. So the shortage of resources on Mandalore encouraged a harsh, battle-ready society to develop that would eventually expand beyond the borders of its own planet and would send groups of warriors to nearby planets to conquer. This eventually led to conflict with the Jedi Order when planets under Republic protection came under attack by Mandalorians. There was a war that resulted following these initial conflicts between the Mandalorians and the Jedi, and to this day, the two groups still have a very contentious and complicated history. So although Mandalorian once referred to the people from the planet Mandalore, it now refers to like the again, like I said earlier, a clan-based culture that can include any species so long as they uphold the values of a Mandalorian, not unlike the Jedi, not unlike the Sith. You aren't a Mandalorian by race, you're a Mandalorian by creed.
Are you going to go over the principles they have to abide by to
Todd,
join the culture?
I
mean, it might be a stupid question.
I'm so glad you asked that question because I am. So the Mandalorians value above all else battle, honor, and tradition. To draw a comparison, they hold a lot of the same values as like the Klingons from Star Trek. If you're more familiar with Star Trek,
Yeah, that was for me. Thank you.
yeah, they're
helps.
a battle society. Like you know everything they say you can take at face value because they aren't liars. They aren't a lying society. They if you don't agree to a battle to the death, they aren't going to kill you. They're just going to defeat you. And if you agree to terms of combat, they're going to follow them. That's like the honor, the tradition ties in with the battle. If you win by underhanded means to a Mandalorian, you didn't really win. That's kind of our baseline going forward for what to keep in mind. So, like everything in this universe, the Mandalorians have their own set of rules to follow. And it's broken into a few different things. We will start with the simplest of them, the Mandalorian Code. So in 60 BBY,
What?
so similar to how we in the real world have BCE and
AD.
is it AD still? I know it's
It is in my brain. I don't fucking know, but sure.
It doesn't matter.
similar to how we differentiate our history as like before Christ and after Christ. The Star Wars universe differentiates its history before the Battle of Yavin and after the Battle of Yavin. The Battle of Yavin being the X-Wing run on the Death Star in The New Hope.
Oh,
So everything in the
Okay.
Star Wars universe, as it relates to time, is based off of the first Death Star blowing up / Luke Skywalker getting the medal at that ceremony at the end of.
Not like an important event, sure, but like,
Yeah.
is it as important as Jesus?
I'm not. I
What a
didn't
question.
come up with
Among-
it, guys. I just.
Just Among Us.
It's definitely just a big analogy for Jesus. That's all that they did.
It's that.
Yeah.
It's a very identifiable moment to
Yeah.
fans.
Yeah,
If you're
for
just
sure.
like, yeah, this
Yeah.
took place 60 years before.
Especially
Before A
if
New
you're like, I know all the movies, and it's
Yes.
like, okay, all this happened before the movies. Great, done.
It's an easy way to put it in context to the movies.
So hypothetically, if you were, making stories and you were unable to look past the exact story that you were making, you would make that the central point of the rest of your stories. So
Precisely.
big universe, lots of stuff going on, but that matters.
yeah.
So in
Also, sorry, Kyle. It's Common Era, CE. Just to know, you know that.
Whatever.
Thank you.
It's great.
It's BCE and CE.
BC before Common Era and Common Era. Yeah.
Perfect. Great.
Cool.
So in 60 BBY, the Mandalorian soldier Jaster Muriel ascended to the title of Mandalore, which
That
is
name rules.
which is the title given to all the tribes of Mandalorians. You'll also notice that Mandalore is the name of the planet.
Yeah. Not a very creative bunch. These Mandalorians.
Wait,
I
okay,
typed-
hold on.
I
Sorry,
typed
question.
some disambiguation of the word Mandalorian 7,000 times in writing.
Okay, quick question. So, Jaster Muriel earned the title of Mandalore because he is the leader of a tribe of Mandalorians or the leader of all the tribes of Mandalorians?
The leader of all the tribes of Mandalorians is called the Mandalore,
Okay,
with an
got it.
apostrophe between the two syllables.
Really?
Yes.
That's not confusing at all.
It's not confusing at all. It will come up. It'll come up again, and I will try and differentiate between when we're talking about the planet and the ruler. You should be able to figure it out.
Hey, do you guys know what the Wikipedia is called for Star Wars?
Yeah, it's
Wikipedia.
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 Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Todd's first day on the internet, everybody.
Yeah, it's
Welcome.
great out here.
So when Jaster Muriel took the title of Mandalore, he aimed to end the dishonorable and savage practices taken up by the various clans over the years. Basically trying to unite them, make them like a society and not just like this nomadic tribe of warriors.
Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan.
Yep.
Very, very apt comparison. And he did that by creating the Mandalorian Code, putting it into writing, and trying to reinstitute and codify kind of all the ancient warrior codes that they had followed in the past, but had kind of fallen by the wayside because, again, no one was enforcing this. They were just warrior nomads out pillaging and conquering. So the first thing he put in the Mandalorian Code are called the Canons of Honor, and they're a creed, a poem, just a nice, concise way of putting their values into word. And the canons of Mandalorian honor are as follows. Strength is life, for the strong have the right to rule. Honor is life, for one with no honor may as well be dead. Loyalty is life, for without one's clan, one has no purpose. Death is life, one should die as they have lived. This is the way.
Okay.
There's that quote.
There's that
There
quote,
it is.
Todd. That's for you.
Ding.
The Mandalorian Canons of Honor are derived from the codes of the first Mandalorian warriors aimed at attaining glory and honor. They're the oldest rules for being a Mandalorian, and where the catchphrase, "This is the way," from the show that everyone likes to say, is from.
Okay.
If you think about them as like the Mandalorian 10 Commandments, you're probably not super far off base.
Cool.
Not super specific, but like get at the core of what they're trying to do.
Yep. Okay. So this is these are your orcs, your whatever the heck Drax is, like this is the most archetypical like strength based character.
Yep.
Okay.
So the next thing he put into word are called the Rizolnar. They're 6 actions central to Mandalorian life. So anyone that wishes to be considered a true Mandalorian must live these 6 actions daily. To ignore them is to be Darmanda, or ignorant of their heritage and without the Mandalorian soul. So the 6 Rizolnar are wearing armor, speaking the language, defending yourself and your family, raising your children as Mandalorians, contributing to the clan's warfare, and rallying to the Mandalore's cause, the one leader's cause when called upon.
Can we unpack wear armor? And all of them like, oh yeah, they're like contributing to their society, like protecting what you love, like, you know, country before whatever. And then like, make sure you wear that armor because
they've got a dress code.
We never gave Boba Fett a face, so
so kind of like what Todd said jokingly is kind of true. They have a dress code. Weapons and the weapons and armor a Mandalorian uses are very specific, like very sacred, almost sacred to them. But literally, it just kind of comes from like, you are always ready for combat. You are wearing armor is kind of where that comes from.
It's that Beskar armor.
That Beskar armor. So in the early days of Mandalorian conquest, they would force these rules upon the people they conquered. So you either agreed to be a Mandalorian and follow these 6 rules, or you would be killed. As Mandalorians became less religious and less and more just kind of like space warriors than space religious zealots, they faded away from forcing people to join them and just kind of said like, yeah, you can be Mandalorian if you want. This is what you got to do. Or you can just be like a people under the Mandalorian flag. And as long as you pay your tax or whatever, we'll leave you be. So that's the Rizolner. And the last thing has the best name. It is called the Super Commando Codex.
Oh, that
wow.
Yeah.
That is, what a leap that is to go from the Cannons of Honor and the Rizolner to the Super Commando Codex.
It's my favorite NES game.
Yeah. And this was Jaster's own addition to the Ancient Rules of Honor. They're an attempt by the Mandalore to kind of modernize their role in the galaxy and establishes the Mandalorians as no longer like bandits or raiders, acting as on their own accord, but as elite, highly trained soldiers and honorable mercenaries. So there's about 100 or so laws in the Super Commando Codex, and they state things like what is acceptable to do in combat, what jobs they are and aren't allowed to take to be considered honorable, and how they kind of share their spoils with to best benefit the clan and themselves. Some of the laws from the Super Commando Codex that come up in The Mandalorian, to give a reference point, are raising children orphaned in battle. That's where the foundlings concept comes from, for those of you who have watched the show. You raise them in the Mandalorian way until they are of age, or until you can reunite them with their people, which again is kind of the driving action of like the back half of season 2 of Mandalorian. And then we see the main character, Din Djarin, offering a portion of his bounty of Beskar metal to the armorer that they can put toward like other Mandalorians' armor and repairing it. So in The Mandalorian, Pedro Pascal's character gets like this huge reward of like tons of Beskar metal, and he makes himself nice swanky armor out of it, but he also donates some of it to like his clan so that they can touch up their armor as well. There's 100 or so of these laws in the Codex. I don't have them all. I don't know them all, but those are some of the ones that are easily accessible in the modern media.
Well, I wonder if there actually is a listing of all 100 or so, or if it's just like when plot requires a law, that law is there, and they better hope there's not 101 plot deserving moments.
There's a bajillion books. I'm sure they were listed out at some point in the books, and Disney hand waved all the books away except for what they want to care about. So now it's probably a case of where like, yeah, we'll make that a Mandalorian law. It's a good plot. Why not?
Right.
Yeah, I'm so sure that at one point you could buy yourself a copy of the Super Commando Codex.
It feels right.
In a poster that goes on your wall.
It was probably a poster. You probably bought it at like Spencer's. but it was definitely for
the
sale.
traveling poster salesman that would visit college campuses in the early 2000s.
Yeah. FYE also an option for where that purchase could be made.
What a pool.
So as combat is so central to the Mandalorian identity, so too are their weapons and armor, with their T-shaped visors on their helmets being like the primary identifier of Mandalorian soldier. That's like in the Super Commando Codex now. That's like part of the always have your armor thing, is like that T-shaped Boba Fett visor. All Mandalorians have that visor or aim to have that visor. Their armor does hold a high significance. It is supposed to be constructed out of incredibly strong Mandalorian iron that is mined from the planet Mandalore itself or its moon Concordia. And that iron is called Beskar. So that is where Beskar comes from, Todd. It used to be like the planet and moon are mostly mined of their Beskar now. And through past transactions, Mandalorians have traded most of the Beskar away. Now it is considered almost wholly to them again. It's considered more valuable than currency when you can obtain it because of its history and like special properties. If you could get paid in gold or credits or Beskar, a true Mandalorian, quote unquote, would pick the Beskar every time.
It is a plot device in the show where it's like, well, now I have to do this mission for this person because they have Beskar.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's vibranium. Like it's whatever
It's
made of fake
unobtainium.
metal it needs to be. Adamantium.
You got it.
Take your pick.
It's one of the few substances in the Star Wars universe that resists lightsaber attacks. Like it's
Of course.
it's vibranium.
Sure it is. Yeah.
It's vibranium or adamantium or whatever other fictional super strong metal.
MacGuffin metal.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Beskar can only be forged for Mandalorians by Mandalorian armorers in like an almost sacred position and ritual among Mandalorians. And these armorers not only like are tasked with providing the Mandalorian soldiers with like tools and armor that they need to complete their missions, but they also do preserve the traditions of Mandalore and like, will emblazon armor with special insignias based on combat and victories, and will pass down lore as they forge these armors for Mandalorians. Again, like I said, in kind of, it's almost like a battle priest position to be a Mandalorian armorer. Yeah, it is very cool. So the weapons used by Mandalorians can vary from soldier to soldier. They have certain things they favor over others, but they're not in any way, not like the T-shaped visor or the Beskar. They're not like obligated to use them. But almost all the weapons they choose have origins in either countering or copying the abilities of the Jedi because of those initial conflicts they had with the Jedi when they were first like expanding. So, for example, like the jetpack that almost every Mandalorian has is meant to mimic the Jedi's abilities to enhance their strength and speed so that they can like jump long distances and like move super fast.
Can most Jedis jump real high, or is that just like Yoda in the
force
one
jump
movie?
is like a standard.
It's a pretty
force
standard
move.
thing among Jedi that they.
Okay, I know they can do the like telekinesis, like force move, force push, or whatever. Okay. Again, my entire reference just Knights of the Old Republic.
That's fine. Another one they use a lot they're called vibroblades, which are meant to combat the lightsaber technology Jedi use. They're just a special sword that's meant to withstand lightsaber attacks. But beyond that, Mandalorians favor blasters, flamethrowers, and rockets, while also being skilled to utilize like tie lines and bladed weapons for hand-to-hand combat. They are warriors. They are ready for almost any form of combat and usually are armed to the teeth to do such.
What's a tie line?
Like a rope, like a cable.
Think like I would say a grappling hook, but that makes you think you're gonna pull yourself to something.
Yeah.
It's like the reverse. Like you're gonna like you're gonna like tie up someone's feet and pull them to you.
But like a rope that you can
Like a lasso.
but you project it. You know, it's a projectile rope that still attached to the Mandalorian that they can pull people.
So a lasso.
So a lasso.
A
Sure.
space lasso.
They're gonna go hog tie them with space samurai.
Well, if you would watch The Mandalorian,
Space cowboys.
in the first episode, he uses it for a very cool presentation moment, and it's awesome.
Like bolas,
I bet.
right? I had to dig
Similar.
for the word, but I think they're like bolas.
Like bolas. It's a utility
same
rope.
purpose.
It does a few different things. Boba Fett used them, Jango Fett used them, and Din Djarin used them, so I included them in the list. It's a rope that they can shoot at people. That's all I got on the greater backstory and culture.
Can I add something real quick?
Please, before we're about to move into a break. So any questions, any lingering thoughts, please.
Any
please ask
bits?
them.
So this is going to be a good thing to leave on. So I went looking for the Super Commando Codex laws in a poster. Couldn't find it. What I could find, though, which is just the best balance of nerdy and like spot on, is there is apparently somewhere a Mandalorian Mercs costuming club, and their
Of course.
bylaws are called the Super Commando Codex,
Good.
which is like
Good.
Yep.
so good.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I can't find like an actual like list. I'm sure there's been like examples they've dropped of like this is part of the Super Commando Codex, but I cannot find an actual comprehensive list.
That's how it came up in my research, which when they would talk about things that he was doing in the Mandalorian, they would just like, and that is from the Super Commando Codex, or like they would just call it like the Mandalorian Code or somewhere. Like it's all part of that Mandalorian Code. There are all these rules. Any questions? We all good? We kind of feel like where we're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, look, like Star Wars is fun. It's not known for being complex.
Yeah.
Like I get it.
It's
I get
complex in that there's like a bajillion moving pieces, but none of those pieces do anything inherently complicated. Yeah.
Like I can't believe that the Mandalorians have this like really complicated like religious mythology and like all of this like really like storied dynasties and like I don't know, whatever. I mean, it's like they fight. That's period.
I mean, I'm with you right now. Part of my thing with Star Wars is like this stuff is all cool and I like it. And then when it gets into like, well, there was this battle and this guy came out of it and then he became this other guy at this battle, like that's where I really start to get lost in the weeds because I just don't really give a shit. And all sci-fi is just like fantasy but in space. But I think that Star Wars and Star Trek, you can make the argument for either, are like the most fantasy bullshit but in space.
You couldn't. Oh my god, Matt, how do you do a nerd podcast and you think that they're but Star Wars is not sci-fi. Star Wars is fantasy. Star Wars is high fantasy in space. Star Trek is sci-fi. They are so different.
Matt, don't let him actually.
I don't agree with you. Actually, I don't agree with you at all.
I'm gonna back you up, Andrew. The differences between like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings is just that George Lucas set Star Wars in space and gave them like space age technology. But other than that, it's just Lord of the Rings. Like
okay, so like that was the argument that I'm trying to make,
D&D.
and I'm not gonna sit here and fight with you because I will, but that's not the podcast we're doing right now.
Not today.
But what I'm trying to say here is that like Star Wars is absolutely fantasy in space, and I don't care for fantasy all that much, and so putting it in space doesn't help. So I'm with you right now, and I'm curious if I'm still gonna be with you in 10 minutes.
I'm glad that we resolved that because Andrew pushed his glasses so far up his nose.
Oh, they're in my
There's a
brain.
permanent indent.
No, when we come back, Matt, we'll definitely lose you because this is where we get into like all the Silmarillion level stuff from the Star Wars universe.
Rad.
It's just names and gobbledygook in space. So we will take a quick break and let Matt kind of align his brain to prepare for that to come blasting at him. But we will be right back.
Hey everyone, sorry if you were expecting the Wii Shop music. Lucky for you, there are like 1,500 covers on YouTube and Spotify and wherever else you stream music. I'm here today to tell you that we would like to fill this slot with something other than the Wii Shop music. We've sort of reached the point with this podcast that we would really love to take on a sponsor or two. And we're not looking for your quips or your lawnmowers or your purple mattresses, although I would very much like at least 2 of those 3 things. I'll let you decide which 2. We are looking for indie creators in the nerd space just like us. We're not trying to get rich off this show. We just want to help spread indie nerd culture around the globe. So if you are someone who makes dice, if you are an artist who takes commissions, if you have a video game or nerd or comic related brand, we would love to run an ad for you on the show. We've put together some sponsorship packages, and we've made sure to keep the price point low enough that people like us would be able to afford it. So if you have any interest in advertising with us, or you know someone who might, shoot us an email and get in touch at debatethiscast@gmail.com.
All right, we're back. So we all know the lore and the world building is what like makes the Star Wars universe great. Why it's stuck around for 50 years now?
That's wild.
But the reason we all keep coming back are the actual Star Wars, the stories, the tales.
I'm laughing at Matt laughing.
It's a funny fucking sentence. Like, you know what keeps us around? It's the Star Wars. Come on, man.
The wars
really
and the
good.
stars. That's what it is.
The Stars War, as it were.
Nope, that's something different.
What? No.
And our Mandalorian deep dive wouldn't be complete without telling you about some of the scuffles that the Mandalorians have gotten into over the years. I kind of touched on this before, but as you may know, the Star Wars universe is lush with stories that take place over many, many thousands of years. And fortunately, nerds came up with a system to help put these events in an easy-to-understand context. Like I said, it's the year BBY, before the Battle of Yavin, and after the Battle of Yavin, it puts it in context of the New Hope, the nice cultural touchstone everyone has seen. Yes, Matt.
I have a question. It's a dumb question. I remember a long time ago on a Debate This episode.
In a galaxy far, far away?
No, where Andrew did a Praise Yavin bit.
Yeah, I was trying to be a nice friend and not call Kyle out. It's Yavin. Yavin 4. Yavin is the small man that lives inside the giant space whale in Final Fantasy X.
And
Andrew,
gives that space whale force powers?
Andrew, question
More or
for
less.
you. Is
Yes,
your
sir.
medical coverage going to be able to cover removing the glasses from your frontal lobe?
From the inside of my fucking brain, probably not.
Thank you, Andrew. The Battle of Yavin.
Yep, right now I'm surgically removing the thumb from my asshole.
So I will do my best to put these to give you years for these events that we're about to cover. But the history of the Mandalorians is long, and it's buried in novels that have been abandoned by Disney and that I have not read, and it's not always clear. But when possible, I will cover the dates with an appropriate year. So we are going to go back to 7000 BBY and talk about the first kind of recorded exploits of the Mandalorians, the Mandalorian Crusades. The Mandalorian Crusades are the name given to the conquering missions of the early Mandalorians on nearby Outer Rim planets. There aren't a ton of details about these planets before their conquest because they've just been so assimilated into the Mandalorian culture, but they happened. As they learned space travel, they traveled to the closest planet and conquered them as a warrior species.
Kyle, question.
Yes.
Okay, so we've established where this is in the timeline related to A New Hope. Is all of this stuff post the first Mandalore, or did stuff happen before they appointed that Genghis Khan-esque chieftain?
That all happened. What's his name? Jaster Muriel was 60 BBY.
Got it. Okay.
So that was only in the
Noted.
few years preceding what we know as the Star Wars continuity. This was 7,000 years before that.
Cool.
So these crusades began around, like I said, 7,000 BBY and continued for almost 3,000 years, with Mandalore conquering planets from all the way from the outer core. They made their way all their way into the deep core, which I think I said earlier, it kind of goes like out to in, outer core, inner core, core, and then deep core. So like they conquered a lot in 3,000 years. And they made it all the way to the deep core before the Mandalore Crusaders, led by someone named Mandalore the Indomitable.
No,
That sucks.
absolutely not.
Right on the nose,
sucks.
huh?
Before Mandalore the Indomitable was killed by Sith Lord Quell Droma. And Matt, here's where the names start, and I'm so sorry.
God, this sucks. I hate it.
Let me know when I need to pump the brakes and reestablish what some names mean, because these are all just some Star Wars ass names that, like, if you don't keep them straight, are just like a hodgepodge of letters and syllables.
Jedi names I know are notoriously babble.
Yeah. So the Mandalorians expanded and expanded throughout the galaxy, following the tenets of the canons. Basically, their whole goal at this point was like to find a worthy foe. Like they weren't like conquering these planets for their resources necessarily. They were just looking for something better to fight, because that's what their culture was. So led by Mandalore the Indomitable, they attracted the attention of Sith Lord Quell Droma. Mandalore, the person, thought that Quell Droma had kind of overextended his resources, tried to conquer Quell Droma's, the Sith Lord's, home kind of system. So they went in and they attacked a few planets for Mandalore and took them over and had a few good victories, when Quell Droma sent an envoy to tell them, hey, knock it off, quit taking over our planet, or we're going to wipe you
Quit
out.
it.
Yeah. Told him, knock it off or risk annihilation.
You're fucking around. You ready to find out?
Mandalore the Indomitable said, yeah, I'm ready to find out, and proposed that instead of like that deal of us stopping or you killing us, he said, hey, why don't just the two of us do battle, and the winner swears fealty to the other.
Okay.
Mandalore the Indomitable, conquered a few planets from under the Sith, and then basically said, like, we're going to keep doing this, or you can battle me in the winner take all kind of thing. So they met on the planet Krar, which has no other significance to the Star Wars universe that I'm aware of. And
You think they just make up random ass planets for story?
They totally
they
do.
must. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
So
they
stupid.
can, so why not?
I would like the listeners to know that Matt has right now what I could only be described as Kingdom Hearts face. Which is just like, I want to fucking die.
I'm close, man. I'm trying to like tick through our other flavor text to think if there's one that I've given less of a shit about, but this is up there. It's
See,
up
I'm on
there
the
for
complete
sure.
opposite. Like I am into this.
Todd is just eating all of this up. This is how I
pretty
felt
cool.
during the Five
It's
Nights
fine.
at Freddy's one. But
Yeah,
I'm
that
with
one
you.
was hard.
Um,
It's like it feels very Germany before World War One. There's just a lot of like, come at me, bro.
Yeah.
The only thing that snaps me out of it was honestly just our joke about like they can just make up planets. It's
Yeah.
fine. Like it's an infinite and endless galaxy.
Yep.
Like whatever. Also Sith names.
Sith names. So many Sith names coming at you. So many names coming at you guys. So they met on planet Krar, and Mandalore, the person, and we're not going to cover any more of them, but there were like 4 or 5 people named Mandalore.
No.
As I went through the history, so every leader, as they got the title Mandalore, then also just changed their name to like Mandalore the Thing. Like there's Mandalore the Great and so there were a few Mandalores. I'm only talking about the Indomitable here. So they showed up on the planet, and Mandalore immediately like put in a few stipulations on the fight to help even the odds, knowing that his Sith opponent commanded some power over the Force. So the first was that this battle was not going to take place on the ground, but in this like network of connecting chains in the air that define the planet. You know how every Star Wars planet has its thing? This one is that like there's like this network of cables in the sky.
It's like a fucking ropes course planet.
Yeah.
100. You got it. That's exactly it. So
God, this
first
sucks.
thing was he wanted to fight in the ropes course, not on the ground.
It's pretty nice that there's a whole planet dedicated to team builders.
The second rule that Mandalore wanted established, that he would be allowed to use his like custom droid war mount, and that Keldroma would not get to use anything like that for some reason.
Okay.
Wait. How does... All right. I get a gun. Also, you don't get a gun.
The last stipulation was that they would both use a traditional Mandalorian weapon, a mythosaur axe, which is just an axe created from the bones of this dinosaur that lived on Mandalore at one point in time.
Whatever.
Again, with the goal of taking away the Sith Lord's advantage of having a lightsaber, which is
This whole thing is like, fine, I'll fight you, but like, you don't get to use your powers.
You guys want to come to my house and play a game? I just made up the game, and all of the rules benefit me.
Also, I get the only working controller.
Yeah.
Here's the Mad Cats I threw against the wall 3 days ago. Here's the thing.
I'm gonna play on the HD TV. I've connected the other Xbox to the old tube television downstairs.
Keldroma still won that fight.
Of course.
Nice.
You know, he just focused on using his force powers and beat Mandalore, thus kind of winning Mandalore's army and troops and use them in his own battles coming up. So he had this now legion of shock troopers basically for his upcoming campaign against the Galactic Empire, which he was about to take on.
Imagine having an entire army of troopers that looked like one of the Mandalorians. That's wild.
It's all of them. Yeah. So
That's never been done before.
So that happens. He attacks the Republic, the old Republic, and I think he loses. I tuned out after that. Eventually, Mandalore kind of decides he doesn't want to work for Keldroma anymore and uprises against him and dies outright in this very glorific battle for the Mandalorians. But they lose. The Republic kind of beats the Sith back, and everything quiets down for a little while. Mandalorians go back to kind of just planet hopping and conquering for conquering's sake, which leads into the events that lead to our next event, the Mandalorian Jedi War, which I'm not positive, but I think is what they're referring to in Knights of the Old Republic. Andrew,
I think so too. It was never given a timeline, but the Old Republic, yeah, it would have been around this time because it's very, very much before.
And this all happens in the build up to the collapse of the Old Republic. So
Yep, this is exactly what that is.
So this takes place in the some 2,000 years between the end of the Mandalorian Crusades with the Sith and the fall of the Old Republic in 1032 BBY. These skirmishes kind of helped advance the Mandalorian technology to what we kind of think of it today, because they were just doing an arms race basically with the Jedi and their force powers. They just kept upping their weapons to counteract those. So there was a brief period of peace between the Jedis and the Mandalorians. They got in conflict again as Mandalorians tried to conquer these Republic planets that Jedi swore to protect. Jedi would come in and be like, no, you can't conquer this planet. It's part of the Republic. We're here to protect it.
This is my planet. It's my planet.
Things quieted down for a little while. When here's another name for you, Matt. Tare Vizsla became the first Mandalorian inducted into the Jedi Order. The first.
That's not that bad though. That's a good. I'm good with that.
You're good with Tare Vizsla. How's Matt doing?
I mean, literally every Star Wars name sounds like something I would order at a Mediterranean restaurant. Like, Tare Vizsla is absolutely a Mediterranean dish.
Good. So with his time with the Jedi, Vizsala created the Darksaber.
Okay, that fucking
Shut
rules.
Yeah,
cool.
Shut up. That's you missed me with that Shadow the Hedgehog bullshit.
it's super Shadow the Hedgehog stuff. It is a unique black bladed lightsaber, kind of incorporated the Mandalorian people's like weapon design into a lightsaber design. So it's got more of a traditional like sword hilt than like the lightsaber canister we all think of. I didn't find a ton about like the properties that make it unique, except that its focusing crystal also connects with the user's connection to the Force in a way that like the other lightsabers don't, which gives it more strength when the person wielding it is in like a heightened emotional state. All the wikis said it like would give off this like this electrical energy, this electrical crackle, very Dragon Ball Z style, as the person wielding it got more intense in the fight.
Isn't that what Kylo Ren's sword does? Maybe not.
Does it?
Explicitly.
No. And this is where like the old canon and the new canon kind of get into it. Like Kylo Ren's is different, but we're not here to talk about that. It's also like specifically strong against other lightsabers. One thing I saw said that it has almost a magnetic attraction to lightsabers. So like if you're fighting with the Darksaber against a normal lightsaber, they're going to have a harder time kind of breaking connections, and you'll have an easier time parrying them and blocking things because the Darksaber is going to draw that lightsaber toward it. It's mostly symbolic, and the Darksaber is going to come up a lot as we go forward. It comes up a lot in the Clone Wars and Rebels cartoons as well. It shows up in the Mandalorian TV show as well. So it's a very important artifact in the Star Wars universe. And it's created by this first ever Mandalorian Jedi. At some point, Tare Vizsla returns to Mandalore to rule as their Mandalore. And he rules. There's a period of peace between the two while he's in charge, because obviously he's still a Jedi, so he's not gonna like fight the Jedi. And eventually he dies. And when he does, the Jedi recover the Darksaber and kind of add it to their archives as a artifact of importance. So then in 1032 BBY, during the fall of the Old Republic, this political faction called the House Vizsla from Mandalore go to the Jedi archives in kind of the confusion and take back the Darksaber as kind of their object of representation of their like leadership over the planet. So they take the Darksaber back to be their Excalibur. You know, whoever has the Darksaber is the leader of Mandalore.
Question.
Going forward.
This House Vizsla, is that a political faction of Jedi or a political faction of Mandalorians?
It's Mandalorians.
Mandalorians, okay. Got it.
So these are Mandalorians who, you know, there was this period of peace between the Mandalores and the Jedi. This political faction was like, we don't care about that. We want our power back, and we hold our representation of that power in this sword. So they went and stole the sword back.
Got it.
And this fractioning, them taking it back, kind of ignites the Mandalorian Jedi Wars in full. So the conflict immediately is back on. The Jedi are like, if you're not going to respect our traditions, we aren't going to stand for that. And they go to war. The war finally ends then in this final battle on Mandalore, where the Jedi scorch the planet, just like destroy everything on Mandalore, leaving Mandalore and its moon uninhabitable outside of these like climate controlled dome cities.
Kind of a dick move on the Jedi's part.
Super
a little
dick
bit.
move on the Jedi's part.
Yeah.
And this creates this like deep resentment among the Mandalorians for the Jedi that lasts till at least through the events of The Mandalorian, the TV show. It's still going. The resentment is still held then, for obvious reasons. So from there, we kind of go. The next big one we get is the Mandalorian Civil War. There's 2 Mandalorian Civil Wars that we're going to kind of cover here. This all takes place during the events of the Clone Wars and the Rebels cartoon. So I'm not going to go like all into it because there's 8 seasons of a TV show that gets all this backstory. I'm just going to touch on the quick beats of it.
Point of reference, and remind me, because I've never seen the show. Does that take place in between the 2 prequel movies?
I believe that's what it is.
Clone Wars, the cartoon Clone Wars takes place between episodes 2 and 3 of the main series movies, and Rebels takes place immediately following the events of New Hope, I believe.
Okay.
I know Darth Vader is like full black suited Darth Vader, and the might be before A New Hope, but he's like Darth Vader as we know and love him in Rebels.
Question for you, Kyle.
Yes.
Are you going to share what Darth Maul's brother's name is in this description?
Mm-hmm.
Good, because I want to see Matt's reaction when you do.
We're gonna get to it.
It's the worst.
and yeah, spoiler, Darth Maul is involved in the Mandalorian Civil War, and it's pretty cool.
Which is
actually.
fine.
Yeah.
Darth Maul's rad.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So sometime after the Mandalorian Jedi War, there was this attempt on Mandalore to create a society that wasn't warrior based. I didn't find all the details. The Wikipedia is not well organized, so a lot of this was a hunting mission as well.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
At some point though, Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi spent a year on Mandalore basically keeping the peace there. And while they were there, they had a lot of influence over Duchess Satine Kryze, who was in a very high leadership role at the time, and basically, with their influence, kind of encouraged her to push the planet toward peace and being less of a warrior society. A lot of Mandalorians did not like this. You know, their culture forever and ever has been warriors that those codes of honor, conquering, battle, etc., etc. And one such group, the Death Watch, a descendant group of the House of Azala, were her fiercest opponents, and they're the ones who they have the Darksaber in their possession. The Death Watch does. Duchess Sabine, as she's called, was able to keep the reins of the new Mandalorians, as they were calling themselves, was able to keep it together through some very rocky times. You know, there were a lot of people, the wiki calls them crime lords. A lot of organized crime lords were trying to take her out so they could like join the Clone Wars and start profiteering by selling stuff to both sides of the war. They wanted her out of the way so they could join in. She was keeping Mandalore neutral in the Clone Wars throughout her reign.
Despite the fact that the clones were clones of a Mandalorian.
Despite the
Jango
fact
Fett.
that the clones were clones of Jango Fett, a Mandalorian soldier, yes. Which I don't touch on a ton in here. Their relationship doesn't come up a ton, but like, yeah, that's very much a thing.
Fair enough.
So she was mostly successful at remaining neutral until the Death Watch rescued the top half of Darth Maul and his brother Savage Opress.
Fuck off.
Get
What the
that,
fuck
Matt?
did you just say to me, Kyle? What in the goddamn fuck did you just say?
That Darth Maul's brother's name is Savage Opress. You heard that
I didn't
correctly.
know that.
Yeah.
And so, thank you for unpacking that. I'm still upset, but can you go back to the top half of Darth Maul, please?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. End of Phantom Menace. Obi-Wan
Spoiler alert.
Kenobi
He gets sliced in half.
cuts Darth Maul in half, and then he falls down a ventilation shaft on
Right.
Naboo.
Yeah, I got that. I've seen the movie, but like that top half is still sentient?
Yeah, that's where the brain is.
Well, here's the thing, Matt. People like Darth Maul so much that they're like, we can't leave him out.
In the 10 years between the end of the Phantom Menace and the start of the Clone Wars, Darth Maul keeps himself alive just through like the dark side and sheer rage and force of will. So his hatred of Obi-Wan Kenobi keeps him alive as a torso and head for
This
10
is me
years.
hand waving.
Todd is
See,
aggressively
I'm hand
waving.
waving.
I would like to point out that this is the second flavor text that we have referenced the bad guy from Will Smith movie Wild Wild West. But is he basically just the bad guy from Wild Wild West for 10 years?
Yep.
He goes through 2 iterations of robot legs during these 10 years, one of which is 4 spider legs, yes.
It's a real Daniel Day-Lewis move.
Star
Who's
Wars sucks,
actually in
you
that
guys.
movie and not Daniel? Who's in that movie and not actually Daniel Day-Lewis?
Doesn't
That I
matter.
just keep thinking.
It's
is?
Kevin Kline, I think. Isn't it Kevin Kline?
Thank you. No, he was Will Smith's buddy. I forget who was the bad guy. I'm gonna look that up.
All right, let me...
I'd rather look that up than listen about Darth Maul's brother.
I don't have his name. I just have the picture.
You don't want to learn more about Savage Opress?
Savage Opress sounds like a discount WWE wrestler. Like somebody who you unlock in an N64 wrestling game.
That's right. It's Kenneth Branagh
Kenneth Branagh,
who
yeah.
directed the first Thor movie.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
Shakespearean actor.
So where was I? I got lost. In that
Savage
long,
Opress, you were right here.
long tangent we took.
I'm gonna make this picture of Dr. Lovelace the image for this episode.
It's semi-important to note that in that year Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn were on Mandalore. It's probably likely that Obi-Wan Kenobi and Duchess Satine had a relationship.
Ooh.
Yeah. So Darth Maul, his brother, Savage Opress, and the Death Watch all start kind of recruiting more support against Duchess Satine, the new Mandalorians, and the Jedi, and eventually are able to overthrow the new Mandalorians and claim control of Mandalore. It is then that the leader of the Death's Watch, descendant of Tare Vizsla, named Pre Vizsla, but
Sorry.
Good.
What?
yep,
You're right.
betrays Darth Maul. Not Darth Maul anymore. He's just Maul now because the Darth is a Sith title and he's not Sith anymore
Because he got no legs.
because he got no legs.
Lieutenant Dan.
So Pre Vizsla betrays Maul and has him imprisoned and claims control of Mandalore. Maul in prison turns to some of these other political prisoners and factions them together to help him break out of prison. Breaks out of prison, fights Pre, and kills him with his own darksaber. So
Turns him into post Vizsla.
turns him into post Vizsla.
God.
So Darth Maul has the darksaber and now with the darksaber representative control of Mandalore. He establishes this puppet prime minister. It's some guy, I didn't even put his name in because he dies in 4 minutes in this story anyway. Some ancient law, Darth Maul isn't allowed to be the Mandalore because he's not Mandalorian, so this other guy is, but Darth Maul tells him what to do anyway. So now in charge, Maul uses Duchess Satine to bait out Obi-Wan Kenobi to come back to Mandalore to make him fight. He wants to get revenge on Obi-Wan Kenobi for cutting him in half 10 years ago.
Fair.
Reasonable, yeah.
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 Obi-Wan comes to Mandalore, they fight, and in the fight, Maul actually wins. He gets the upper hand on Obi-Wan Kenobi. He kills Duchess Satine and makes Obi-Wan watch, and then has Obi-Wan imprisoned, which he later escapes from prison and flees to come back and fight another day. So Maul is in charge. He's got Obi-Wan taken care of, and he's happy when a different Mandalorian faction, the Night Owls,
What?
try to.
Yeah, that's
They're all
fine.
It's a bunch of clans. It's a bunch of warring clans, Matt. So this is just another.
Yeah, I mean, I
clan.
get that, Kyle, but like, there's a big difference between the Death Watch and the Night Owls.
The Night Owls are the group following. They're under Duchess
Bo-Katan?
Satine's. Yeah, they're under Satine's sister, Bo-Katan, is in charge of the Night Owls. So they're trying to take Mandalore back for these new Mandalorians.
Okay.
Yep. You just get this. These are the bad guys won for a little bit on Mandalore, and the good guys are coming back to try and take it back.
Got
Is the simplest way I can break that down.
That's as complicated as I needed. Thank you.
All this conflict and like Maul drawing Obi-Wan to Mandalore and fighting him and the Night Owls trying to take things back. All this shuffling and conflict attracts the attention of Darth Sidious, who isn't happy Darth Maul is back. He thought he was dead. He's got a new apprentice now. He doesn't want Maul coming in to like try and
It's really awkward.
try and claim the throne.
Yeah.
So he shows up on Mandalore and takes Maul and his brother Savage Opress.
Remember that, Matt?
I can't say that name enough. He takes them off world to punish Maul for operating outside his rule. So the Night Owls in the power vacuum take Mandalore back over, put Satine's sister Bo-Katan in power, and they kind of rule for a little bit, but are ousted later when Darth Sidious, or when are ousted later by Darth Sidious when they won't swear fealty to the Empire, and Sidious puts a proxy in place. His name's Gar Saxon. He's not important because he's going to get ousted here again in the next paragraph. But
A lot of red shirts in this continuity.
Yeah.
So there is a second civil war. This is most of the events of the Rebels, the Star Wars Rebels cartoon.
Okay.
And Bo-Katan is put back in power, rallies the Mandalorians to reject Empire control, and unites them in a rebellion against the Empire, and they win their planet back. They're independent again. They're all like riled up under this one leader because they've got a good enemy to fight, and they do it. They win. They have their planet back.
So is Boca Raton the current Mandalore?
Yes.
Well, in this moment,
for a little bit.
Okay.
So she's in charge for now, and we will just wrap up this history of Mandalore with the events of the Mandalorian show, and I can finally stop saying this word 9,000 times. We wrap up our history with Bo-Katan hijacking a shipment of weapons that is headed toward the Empire in an attempt to disrupt the supply line, trying to get back the Darksaber, which is under the Empire's control right now. And in the process, they rescue Mandalorian bounty hunter Din Djarin and his ward Grogu, which are the two main characters, the
Got
Mandalorian
it.
and Baby Yoda from the show Mandalorian.
Cool. Got it. Thanks.
All right. We made it.
Do we
So
have to
that's-
do this for an hour and a half?
there's more.
Ugh.
So they're they rescue him. Din Djarin and Grogu go off on their own again a little bit, but they come back together with Din, Bo-Katan, and legendary bounty hunter Boba Fett when Baby Yoda, Grogu, gets kidnapped by the Empire again. And they got to go back and rescue him.
They got to go back in.
They got to go back in.
Rescue mission.
So Din Djarin, Pedro Pascal, boards an Imperial light cruiser, while Fenton and Bo-Katan run interference, and Din Djarin succeeds in rescuing Grogu, Baby Yoda. He captures this Imperial General Moff Gideon, which isn't a name that matters to anyone but Todd, who's watched The Mandalorian.
Played by Giancarlo Esposito.
Played by, Gus from Breaking Bad.
Gus Fring is what I
Gus
wanted
Fring
to say.
from Breaking Bad. And in that, he also brings back the Darksaber, making Pedro Pascal the rightful Mandalore of the Mandalorian people. And that is where my research ended, because I couldn't say the word Mandalore anymore and needed to wrap it up somewhere. So I thought I'd wrap it up on that nice touchstone with the fandom.
Kyle.
Yes,
Do
Todd.
you think that the whole whoever defeats the owner of the Darksaber is the Darksaber's owner is in the Super Commando Codex?
Maybe?
I feel like
I hadn't thought of that. But it, the timeline works. Like the Darksaber would have been in someone's control while he wrote it. So like it would make sense. I know like Pedro Pascal tries to give the Darksaber to
it's a whole thing.
Bo-Katan, and she's like, no, I can't take it. You won it. It's yours. You're the leader now. So like there are rules set up for that transfer of power, but I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's in the
without
the
going
Super
too much
Commando
into
Codex.
it, listeners and Andrew and Matt, it's a real like Gus Fring. I was playing ahead. What you thought was happening didn't happen because I'm smart. Moment.
Okay.
Sure, whatever, man.
You don't need to watch the series now. You know how it ends.
We got it.
You're all caught up.
Pedro Pascal is the new Boca Raton. Got
Yep.
it.
Uh-huh.
Nailed it. Well, the Mandalorian is the new Mandalorian.
Yes. The Mandalorian is the Mandalore of Mandalore.
Zendaya is whatever that character
is Lychee.
Zendaya is Lychee. Perfect.
Are we done?
Man, I love this. Shut up, Matt. This is so cool. I do
Matt,
not...
this is payback for making me sit through the Five Nights at Freddy's one. Is all this is.
Yeah, sure,
Matt,
whatever.
So Matt, the Pedro Pascal is now the most important character in the series, which makes him the Purple Man. Is this a thing? Is this right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Less childhood trauma, but also still childhood trauma.
Let me just call it what it is. I think I don't remember if I said it while we were recording or if I said it during our break, that like I discovered around Rogue One that I don't care about Star Wars outside of the Skywalker saga. And it's cool to me that people do. I'm glad that there is a fandom for this. I'm glad that people like it. I don't even have a great reason why I don't like it. It's just one of those things that like I've got a lot of nerd shit running on my bandwidth right now, and Star Wars got cut, and I don't care. And
you know what I think it is?
Star Wars takes up a lot of that. Like if you let it take up
Yeah.
any of your nerd bandwidth, it takes up a lot of it. And very similarly, except when I care about it, I cut a lot of it out until I care again, and then I cut it out again.
I've been trying to piece it together in the back of my mind because I didn't hate this. I nothing this. Like I'm like, okay, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I'm reacting similarly. I thought you did an awesome job, Kyle.
Yeah.
You put that together because I imagine these are like so many like minor threads and a bunch of other like bigger pieces.
So many of these wiki pages were like 2 or 3 paragraphs
footnotes.
long. Yeah,
Totally. So like awesome job. I think I reacted to this similarly to the League of Legends thing in that like I think this is neat in concept, but what I am reacting to is it's not anything I haven't seen before, and we're so inundated now with nerd shit that it's really hard to grasp, to attach yourself to anything that isn't even like a little bit unique, a little risky, a little bit of a challenge. And that's not Star Wars' fault because Star Wars certainly did it first, or was one of the first. But it's the same reason like I don't give a shit about Lord of the Rings because it's nothing I haven't seen before.
right.
it's very much Seinfeld syndrome, where like every sitcom after Seinfeld did the same thing Seinfeld did, a little different, a little better, but like it's still, Seinfeld was still the first, and like that's always going to mean something,
And it'll never not be important.
Similarly, Star Wars is always going to mean something. For 30 years, your options for deep lore like this were Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, or Star Wars. And since then, so many things have matched that in terms of deep lore that like
everything is deep lore. Everything has a deep lore now.
Right.
Yep.
So it's really hard to, I mean, it's like I don't like Ocarina of Time is a great game, but I don't need to play Ocarina of Time again. Like I don't need to. I think it's the same idea here. It's like I can understand the importance, but I'm just like I'm not personally like super invested in it.
Yeah,
and I think that's okay.
And I think something about Star Wars that maybe makes it a little bit different than some other stuff is that Star Wars, everyone I know who's really into Star Wars has a very nostalgic reason that they're into Star Wars. Like someone or something gave them the reason to care about Star Wars.
That's why everyone like hates and loves it all at the same time, is because like it is this fantasy property mostly made for children that means so much to them, and then like Disney just kind of farted out 3 movies and like didn't match their level of caring about it. So like you love it so much, and at the same time hate it so much because like it's just all over the place. Because again, it's 50 years of continuity that was mashed down into 10 years now. Like
right. And I think to combine that with what Andrew said, when you take something like Star Wars that doesn't have a lot of super unique points, is generic, not because it was written generically, but because it was written first. If you don't have that reason to get into it, there's not a lot of hooks to get in you to keep you coming back. And I missed the ship to get on the Star Wars train, and I never have gone back.
See, and I would agree with kind of what we said that, you know, Matt, where you said that there's usually a nostalgic reason why you're into Star Wars. So that exactly explains why I'm so lukewarm on Star Wars. Like I didn't have, you know, I had a couple friends that were super into it, but I didn't have any like family members or older siblings or like influences that brought me to Star Wars before episode 1. And so I just don't like, I'm the complete opposite of you. I do not care about the Skywalker saga. Like I do not care. And whereas when the Mandalorian, the show, not the planet, not the person,
not the title, the name, the planet, or the race.
Yeah.
When it was presented, I was like, oh, I'll watch an episode, and if it doesn't require me to have any sort of like worldly knowledge of the Star Wars properties, then I'm going to get into it. And so when it really didn't, outside of later, do you know who Boba Fett is? Then like I'm in. And so for me, it was like I am super into the stuff because I don't need to actually know about the Star Wars. I just get what I get here.
and I will say like the Mandalorian, the show is very much that on-ramp back onto the ship that like so many people got off of during the prequels and the Disney sequels. Like it's that, look, we know the Skywalker saga was a mess. This is separate from that, and then it's like the circles are going to touch. It's very much that on-ramp that doesn't have a lot of the Star Wars gobbledygook until you're well into the story and ready to hear it. Because for the first 8 episodes, it's man travels to place to do side mission, or to do mission. Side mission comes up and he has to do side mission before he can continue mission. And like,
there's a really good TikTok, not that you would know, Matt, where it goes, it's like
Roasted.
Every episode of The Mandalorian, like, oh, I'm on this planet, I need this thing. I can give you that thing if you do this stuff for me. Oh, I've got to do the stuff. Also, I have to defend Grogu. Then it's like end of episode.
and then the credits roll, and
It's Cowboy Bebop.
It's a cowboy show. It's a cowboy show in space, and it's very fun once you like set your expectations there.
And clearly, you don't need any of this backstory.
No.
You don't need to know about the super commando code.
Nope. They do a great job so the last paragraph that Kyle shared, where it is relevant to the story, they give you all of that in about 3 episodes each. Like there's like a kind of a build up, and then it like delivers, and you're like, oh, I get it. That's fine.
Yep. This is all unnecessary. Yeah, this is all unnecessary stuff that's in 12 novels from 30 years ago, I'm sure. But like,
And like we said, like you can hear the Mandalorians are warfaring people, and you just get it. You're like, yeah,
Yep.
they do trial by combat. they probably have like their clan, they're fucking Genghis Khan, like they're the Mongols, like
Roman
that's it.
Empire.
Done.
It's,
Check.
it's the person with the best glowy sword is the ruler. Like, you know,
Yeah.
same
That
thing.
is not a stretch to make. Like I can connect those dots myself.
I liked it. I like this a lot.
Good.
That's fine.
Good. I'm glad.
Matt nods in agreement.
I think the mark of a good flavor text actually is when there's one person on each plane of enjoyment. So we've got Todd ate it all up the whole time. Andrew was like, "Yep, I get it. I hear the word you're saying," and Matt was just like head in hands, exasperated sigh every new character I introduced. So
Well, and I think
He done got Norded. Matt got Norded.
I think there was talks for a while. I don't know if it was revealed at the Disney Plus like press dump last year, but there was talks about doing a Night Owls series with Bo-Katan, explaining kind of like what they've been up to and what they've been doing, because they just kind of appear in the series. I would also argue that yes, a mark of a good flavor text is those tiers, whereas when Andrew yelled Kingdom Hearts at us for 3 straight hours, we were just like, why? What did we do to deserve this?
One of these days, we all need to put out our power rankings of the flavor text and see where the middle line is. Because
I think it's Magic the Gathering.
I was going to
honestly.
say Witcher. I think Witcher and Magic the Gathering are the two that are like
or
right in the middle.
Animorphs. I think Animorphs was a good unifying one as well.
Animorphs is interesting because I think we all equally hated it, but loved the ending.
I hated and loved it. I think the thing I loved most, not that we're talking about Animorphs right now, but the thing that I loved most was when they finished the series and they're like, it's not supposed to be a happy ending. Fucking deal with it.
Right?
Yeah.
It was weirdly dark.
So and so died. The other person has PTSD. This shit happens.
Yeah.
Grow up.
Unlike the FNAF flavor text, which everybody super loved and had a great time.
That was great.
I only love FNAF because it's so buck wild, and it's like they dump stuff out and then they wait for the community to decide what it means, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's good."
Yeah, I like that plan.
I love that you love it, Matt.
That's what
Somebody
it
has
is.
to.
Yep.
Yeah.
So everyone, thank you for listening in to Debate This. You can follow along with the arguments on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at DebateThisCast, or on our website at debatethiscast.com. If you want us to do a deep dive that one of us loves, one of us is okay about, and one of us hates, please go to our Patreon and sign up for our flavor text tier, $50, and we will cover the topic of your choice.
Hint, it's Final Fantasy.
It's not.
No.
Jesus Christ.
No. But Ghost Rider is next, bitches. Good luck.
That's right.
So until next time, I'm Kyle Harper.
I'm Todd. If you really liked this flavor text, you might have a boba fetish. Thomas.
I'm Andrew Savage Depressed Henderson.
And I'm Matt, the Settlers of Bo-Katan, Cole.
We are saying thanks for debating with us, and if you think we're wrong, you can come fight us behind the swing sets, nerds.